right now.
Andrew, I think.
Here.
Are you there?
Nice timing.
Matthew Baumgart. Anybody heard from Matthew? Down the third seat?
Yes.
Treasurer Pappas, excuse, Jennifer Finney.
Here.
Maggie Gavel. Yes, you yet? No.
No, I got it. Okay.
Okay. Lawrence Gallagher.
Here.
Andy Gilbert. Amanda Knox. Peter Moses.
Here.
Teo Façade.
Here.
Raza Rahman. Brian Schnicker.
Here.
And the Dyka.
Here, I'll pass them down. I've already. Oh, okay.
Here's,
Just throwing it at people.
Just roll it up.
Oh, you do?
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
So, all in favor? Against? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay. Treasurer's report.
So we had an interesting last month with this. There were some inconsistencies. I think the city moved some things around unbeknownst to us. At any rate, Vivian and I worked on this, and it's 95% straight at this point. A couple key points I'll bring up that were still the other 5%. The income, the revenues, the property taxes appear to be not adjusted for the increase in the last year or two of property values increase. So it's a small amount, but it's something that Vivian and I are trying to still figure out. It's going to go up a little higher. We then kind of neatened up some of these. We reclassed a few things as it should have been per our original budget. And then that's good. The only issue, I guess, the last item, Department 940, public improvement, we're going to end up, if you look at complete streets, 77,500, we're going to end up moving 15 of that up to cover the downtown plan, which is budgeted 60 and we need 75. So that's not taking out a fund balance, but that's going to be moved. And then potentially more for the MOGO, which Vivian's going to speak about in a little bit. But other than that, it's now real strong, except the fund balance. I don't know if anybody listens to what I say, but the last time I was confused with the fund balance and what it is, it makes sense now. Until the previous year is closed on the books, which isn't for another few weeks, I'm guessing, it still reflects the previous year's fund balance. So anyway, at the end of 6/30/18, it should be 198 and change, and we're on track for what it should have been. So that's the treasury report. Anybody have any questions? That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? There we have it. Okay, this is you, right? This next section? All about you.
Yeah. Well, you know, some other people can kind of speak to it. So, the DDA Video Project, actually, Larry, do you want to talk a little bit about that with the
Yeah, we talked about that at the organization committee meeting a couple weeks back, about how the identity of the DDA kind of needs a little more vividness, if that's a term, to kind of distinguish ourselves from the changing and such. So we showed a couple examples of other videos that really popped and made the details and the mission kind of come alive. So we thought we would look at pursuing that video as a method to kind of give us a little more notoriety or just a little more of a presence, if you will. And we talked about some funding sources. A member on the organization committee actually stepped up and said he would contribute as well. So a pretty modest cost we thought would be a pretty decent return on investment. I think it was $3,000 in the net range.
I think it's gonna cost us, I think, $5, and it'll be about a 4-minute video, but we have money that we can use in that operations budget. So, and then Andrew actually stepped up to offer to be our sponsor for part of the missing piece, so we're in good shape.
The video should start out of focus, and then get like one of your lenses come down with your company name on it, and start in focus.
Nice.
That's how you do that. That is how you do that. You're welcome.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good, it's like Larry said, we've discussed in the organization committee just that people don't understand who the Downtown Development Authority is. And so this is an opportunity, I think, to really help clarify and show the scope of work that, the organization does. So we're excited, and we'll see what, hopefully, I think we're aiming for, January of 2019 to do the big reveal. So we'll probably be hitting up some people to be a part of it, Mr. Board Chair, so just be prepared. Okay, MOGO funding. So last time we talked about MOGO, they had applied for their TAP grant, and instead of getting the TAP grant, they worked with MEDC, and they decided to go with this Flex grant instead. So the program is funded. The problem is that, if you remember our original discussions, we thought that our investment would be probably somewhat minimal. We were thinking maybe $5,000 to $7,500, because what we heard was that the MOGO the MOGO people thought that maybe for the majority of the investment, they would be able to get some corporate sponsors. So that's changed, so it's kind of up to each community to pick up the cost of these stations and bikes. And so the cost has gone up a little because of the way they changed the grant around. So for us to get 2 stations, which we had talked about, and the 10 bikes, which we had talked about, it's gonna cost us about $17,737. And when I talked to, when Mitchell and I went over this, we figured, well, we probably have to just round it up and plan on 20. But this is the problem. If we want to participate, because this is grant funded, it's at a significant discount at $17,737. If we were to do them on their own, if we say, hey, we're not going to participate, but next year maybe we'll put some in, then they're going to cost us about $50,000 to put these 2 stations in.
For 2 stations for renting bikes.
Yeah. So, yeah, but So what we need to decide is this something we want to pursue? Steve, is it something the city might want to help us with, split the cost on? I mean, I hate to let the opportunity go. So it's just, that's obviously something we need to discuss. So my thought was maybe there's some money the city would like to split it with us, maybe not.
Well, certainly I can't speak for council. I know the strong advocate for this is Ross Gavin, and
Yeah.
he's been talking with Matt about this, so I can certainly let them know that this board is interested in learning more about it. I too am interested in what comprises that cost structure. Certainly there's a lot involved. There's more than just a bike rack, right? There's all a power and electronics and backhaul, and might include the bikes too for all we know.
Well, it does.
Done. So I mean, there's more than, it's just more than just a bike rack, but I think offering to this board a more robust proposal so we can better understand what Berkeley's outlay may be and the way in which we're partnering with other communities. So I know Ferndale and Royal Oak are also participating, which would add value to our residents as well as theirs, to be able to rent a bike here, drop it off there, and go there, rent a bike and come back, and that kind of stuff. So it only adds to a more regional mobility, but I think it would still be prudent to better understand the specifics.
Yeah, so I guess I just wanted to have a discussion from within the board, and then let's figure out, do we want to, go forward and pursue it, so.
Did any of the other cities have any
Huntington
changes?
Woods is trying to get a local sponsor. They were only doing one, so their cost is about $9,000. And they were looking to is it the men's club maybe, to sponsor the Huntington Woods. I don't know where they are on that, but, so, yeah.
I'm sorry, do you know if, because to me it only seems right to pursue it if all the communities that originally discussed doing it are committed to doing it, and if they are committed to doing it, do you think that might be enough leverage to negotiate a little bit better of a price?
Everybody is on board, except like I said, Huntington Woods is looking for a sponsor, and they've only got one bike station, Huntington Woods anyway. So they may be the ones who drop out, but Oak Park, Ferndale, Detroit is in there, Royal Oak is in there. They are all moving forward. This is the negotiated price.
And my apologies if we discussed these specifics earlier, do we own any of the infrastructure or any of that nature? Are we responsible for any kind of, what's the cost after the 17?
Yeah, so there's a maintenance cost, a monthly maintenance cost on the bikes, but they're fairly confident that gets, what they found is that the user fees pay for that monthly maintenance.
So whatever
I'd have to go and ask, because I wasn't able to make it, and Ross wasn't able to make it to the MOGO thing, and the last discussion they had, so I'm trying to remember, it might have been, I don't know, a couple $100 a month.
that is either covered by the rider fees, or we would have to fund the difference.
Mhm.
And then these shelters, are we responsible for taking care of them?
No, that's MOGO. So they're the stations, you've seen them all over.
Yeah,
Illinois.
right.
Yeah, so they're charging they're there, and they're not charging stations, but they're stations where, the bikes are
Yeah.
locked in.
What were the
Yeah.
two locations?
So we had tentatively said we would put one at Catalpa and Coolidge, and
Okay.
one like at Royal and 12 Mile. So those were just kind of off the cuff. I know Matt Church would really like to see it up here, which is,
Sure.
I mean, it makes sense to have it up here. So that's flexible, we don't have to, we have to figure that out in the
Yeah.
future, but,
Do these bikes get stored in the wintertime, or?
no, they're out all year round. What is the rent? I don't even know, I've never even used them. I can find out.
I was just curious as to how many people would rent the bike in order to cover that.
Yeah,
I would imagine if they're not written, there's not gonna be a whole lot of maintenance. I mean, they shouldn't just fall apart, right? Any other discussion on MOGO?
Do you, well, if they're, what would you need approval from us today on, or is this just
Nothing,
discussion?
just discussion.
Okay.
To say, hey, yeah, you know, let's consider it, let's move forward, gather some more information, let's reach out to the city. Or, hey, no, we just don't wanna do this right now.
Is there another municipality that we know that has MOGO right now, like in maybe just even in Michigan?
I think just Detroit, because Detroit had them, and then this actually moves them out into Oakland County.
Okay.
MOGO is a nonprofit, Detroit nonprofit.
I would be interested to know from, I mean, I might be tough to get an answer from Detroit on it, is what the working relationship with MOGO has been as far as
I heard it's
maintenance,
good.
you know, all that kind of.
Yeah, I mean,
thing.
there's several in Eastern Market, so I can ask Dan. I
Yeah.
mean, they're used all the time,
Yeah.
obviously. I don't think, MOGO has, I mean, the woman who started she's got a good reputation. I'm not worried about the MOGO community, the
Okay.
MOGOs themselves. It's more, you know, it's a little bit more than we were expecting.
No, yeah, I mean,
What about just one station?
We could do one station, you know, but that's gonna cost us basic, so you get one station and 3 bikes is like 9,000. So it must make sense, you know, if you're gonna, you should, you know, to do the 2 and 10 for, oh no, I'm sorry, it's 5,200, for one station and 3 bikes.
and that's the discounted rate, so like if we
Yeah.
did one, we wanted to add another, then we're paying full price.
Yeah.
for the whole thing.
Because this is all covered with the grant. And it's the grant, so there's a 20% match, and that's what we're paying.
Right.
And then the flex grant's picking up the rest of it.
So they're cost 5,200 twice, or 17,000?
Well, so Huntington Woods, I mean, at 5,200, that's one station and 3 bikes. Okay, so what we have is 2 stations and 10 bikes. So that's why it's a little bit, I mean, which makes
So
sense.
4 bikes are costing $7,000 more, approximately. For us.
Well, 7 extra bikes, 7 extra bikes.
And another station.
And another station. Right. Because they have 3 bikes and we have 10 right now. So it's an additional 7 bikes. So,
Sponsor, any chance of that?
well, we could look for one.
Free money again.
Yeah, I mean.
Sponsors are always great when you can find them, right?
Yeah, you know, I think that the type of sponsor you want for this is probably not, I mean, it's I think that, I think if the communities had banded together to go look for a corporate sponsor, it would have probably been easier than if we say, hey, we want, you know, a corporate sponsor or, you know, a business sponsor for $10,000 or whatever. I think that's, I personally, I think that could be difficult, but we could definitely pursue it.
What's the timeline on the decision?
Well, we need to let them know in October, so we'll have to decide by next meeting.
For installation by
Oh, first quarter of next year,
next year?
February, March. So,
It would
just,
be, one more comment, it would be one of those very visual improvements, if you will, from, this is the DDA, look at this. But it's 17 grand, it's a lot of money.
yeah,
It's just tough for me,
It's a tough
because
call.
if we want to compete with other downtowns in this area, the Ferndales or Hill Oaks, you know, to some extent, we gotta have the same stuff they have. And it's, because I wouldn't want to be the city that said, Berkeley, the only city that said no, but in the same respect, I mean, we're looking at some numbers here.
yeah.
I mean, nothing, but think, something that I think everyone would have a really tough time. I'm not questioning the structure, but all of us are sitting here in our head trying to do the math on how did we get to that number for stations and bikes? Not questioning it, I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
well, and that's covered, I mean, that's grant money.
The explanation, so it was 50 grand for the, trying to remember what we thought, it was 50 grand and 33 that the grant was in cover. And then 2 things happened. One, they switched grants, not sure why, but switched grants. so it covered a little less, and then they were gonna supply or offer, or whatever it was gonna be, a sponsor, which is not their model now. So now it's gone from virtually nothing, or a small number, to 17 grand based on those changes.
So MOGO goes away from a sponsorship model, they switch the grant so it's more expensive for the cities.
Well, MEDC, so MEDC told them to go to this flex grant. So that wasn't something that they, for whatever reasons, and I don't know how the difference between a TAP grant and a flex grant. I don't know why, but there was a, MEDC said, use this flex grant because it's gonna work better for you and we can fund it. So it wasn't
It works better for
MOGO. It wasn't MOGO who said, you know, it was MEDC who said, instead of the TAP grant, you guys can use the flex.
But the grant switch works better for MOGO.
Well, it works for the program to get funded. Otherwise, there's no funding. There was no grant funding without moving to the flex grant.
So SEMCOG didn't approve, or they pulled it back, and SEMCOG administers the TAP grants.
MEDC told them that it would be better for them to do this flex estimate grant, and so that's what they did.
So what if for
It
whatever
didn't
reason they
fall
didn't feel they were
under-
gonna approve for it?
It didn't fall under, somehow it didn't quite fit into the TAP grant, whatever, and they moved it over to this flex grant, so that's, I can only believe that they did it because it made sense.
Sure. Right.
And it got them the grant money, because they're getting, you know, I mean, they're getting, like almost $500,000 in grant money. I mean, it's a big grant. It's substantial, so.
And they're nonprofits, so it's not like they're trying to help their bottom line.
No, I'm not questioning anyone's motives, I'm just trying to understand.
I could offer, since there's an opportunity to discuss this again next time, maybe we could invite someone from that program to come in. I think appropriately, we've been talking about the expense side, but we haven't really said anything about the benefit to our community. And so just looking at the numbers, while important, we also want to understand how this fits into our vision, the kinds of things we're looking to do in Coolidge, the kinds of ways that we continue to promote the downtown. And so maybe if they could come in, or Ross or someone to speak about
I'll
the
reach out.
broader program, then we can have a more, robust dialogue about what this will bring to the city, and then we can decide appropriately to what extent the funding makes sense for us.
So on the MOGO website right now, they're, looks like Henry Ford and HAP are sponsored with Detroit bikes.
Yeah.
If we had a community partner like a Beaumont or somebody, like, I think it makes sense we could fund it, doesn't have much for 10 for bike, or bike, 1,700 per bike. I think we need to get a corporate sponsor to do this, get a presentation from MOGO, like, I don't know, what do the stations look like, what's the footprint?
Well, you can see all that. I mean, I think I shared that when we first agreed to be a part of the grant. So that's I can send that out again, but all of that information went out, you know, I don't know, earlier this year when we decided to become a part of the grant. Which didn't obviously force us to be, we knew that when we said yes, include us in the grant, that we weren't required then to put these in. And it was still wait on final cost because everything's estimated in the beginning and they're trying to figure things out. And once they get the grant and everything, then they obviously could come up with final cost.
Anything else?
The sponsorship, if we did it at an approach of health, we probably could get sponsorship. If we do healthy living, especially with Beaumont improving. So I would be interested in working on the sponsorship as with grants.
Yeah, although we're talking to Beaumont about money for actually the bike lanes, so we can't hit them up for both.
Talk to a different person in the other department.
I promise they don't talk to each other. My wife would.
Well, it all comes out of their community giving, though. That's where, and that's.
You know, I don't want to put it, I know there's a timeline associated with when we need to make a decision, so I don't want to pile on you for all these extra things that now you have to
Oh,
figure out.
no,
But
I'm happy to do it.
it might be worth, if they're willing to help us pay for bike lanes, I I wonder if they're, and if again, if I'm making the project too big now, that's fine. But I wonder if they would be interested in a MOGO station if they're in retail development.
That's wrong.
Well, that's Royal Oak, so they may already have one up there.
In the plan.
Yeah,
If Roy was planning to put one there,
I don't know.
you're not sure, okay.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that, so now that starts to,
because that becomes Royal Oak. I mean, we can't put one up there.
no, I'm not saying we would do it, I'm saying Beaumont either works with the city to kind of do the one and the two of the involved in community health. We're gonna help pay for bike lanes, we're also gonna work with Royal Oak for the MOGO station, their new retail development.
Oh, yeah, and I don't know where I might be able to figure out where Royal Oak's thinking about putting it.
Yeah, 'cause that seems,
Okay.
it seems complimentary.
Yeah, I just,
How
Mr.
certain
Burke.
are they that Ferndale and Oak Park and Royal Oak are gonna move forward?
that's what I was gonna ask.
I
Has there
think-
been a meeting of the
I think that's
communities?
about 100% certain.
100%?
I'm pretty sure Huntington Woods is the only one who's thinking that if they can't get a sponsor, they may not do it.
And Oak Park is moving forward?
Yeah.
They're just gonna swallow it. No one's walking at this cost at all.
Yeah, that's.
Well, it's only a little bit more than, I mean, it's 17,000 to us, when originally they told us to expect 15, but the difference here is that, our understanding was that they were gonna be able to cover about half the cost there with, some kind of a corporate sponsor. So what we were figuring was about 7,500. And then they said you should expect to have your monthly fee covered with usage. So, I figured 7,500, maybe a couple $1,000s here more, depending on usage fees. But, that's totally different from, the 17,000, so. Royal Oak has a much more robust DDA budget. And I think Oak Park has, because they're putting so much money into their road diets and pedestrian friendliness, that this probably fits into that whole thing. I mean, Oak Park has 5 stations, Ferndale's doing 7, Royal Oak's got 6. So we're at kind of the bottom of the,
Kind of goes back to what you were saying and not
yeah,
being
because,
involved.
I mean, it's a huge,
No, I know, I mean,
it's a big area. They suggest putting a station every 10-minute ride, or,
Sure.
so they figure 10 minutes between stations. So when you look at Royal Oak and Oak Park's footprint, and you know how it Ferndale's and then how it wanders down into Detroit, and that's the way they place them.
Vivian, is there any way we could share with Huntington Woods, being that they go into our downtown? Because if we put a station, can we share, and then we get 2 stations, and we would split that with Huntington Woods?
Especially if they were considering not doing it.
Yeah.
That's possible that we could, if they dropped theirs and we said, we'll put one down at 11 Mile and Coolidge. I can talk to Amy. Sure.
And then, but they would help with the cost,
Yeah.
right?
Or at least
That
on
was
that
split.
one.
Yeah, of that one. Sure. Yeah, let me talk to Amy.
But it even sounds that even with our 2 stations, we're willfully low on bikes, and I almost wonder from a fee structure standpoint, if going from one kiosk to another kiosk within the same city has a financial benefit rather than going from our kiosk, for instance, into a Royal Oak kiosk, meaning are we only getting half of our income because the bike originated here but ended up in Royal Oak versus starting in Berkeley and ending in Berkeley?
Oh, I don't
Which is
think that
maybe
would
why
be-
they're doing so many stations.
No, they do so many stations because they're told to put them in around, 10 minutes from each other. So that's why we looked at kind of what we looked at, when you look at how big Royal Oak is, I mean, they got a lot of land cover, so.
Looks like 30-minute limit on the bike. And consumer reviews don't look great. Just say select consumer reviews to give you something to think about.
So, I mean, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but maybe what I'll do is I'll talk to Amy, I'll talk to Lisa, who's the MOGO person, and try and get some more information back to you guys, and then try to get maybe Lisa to come to the
I
next
think
meeting.
that would be great.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, so we'll move on to Spalding Decker.
The Spalding DeDecker contract, this is just an extension of our contract with Spalding DeDecker for their traffic engineering. We brought them on a year ago, and so this really is just extending that contract. I'd say Spalding DeDecker has been worth every dollar we've spent on them in the past year. So I would highly recommend just continuing that relationship. And we have that money is budgeted, so.
And this is for the traffic and, like, traffic engineering information?
Yeah.
Any discussion? Everyone okay? On to,
Well, we need to vote on that.
Oh,
You
we
need to
do?
vote to approve the contract, yeah.
okay, can I have a motion to approve the Spalding DeDecker contract?
Motion to approve the extension of the contract?
Second? And all in favor? Against? Okay.
Is that the $3,750, $3,750?
Yeah,
Okay.
not to exceed. And we didn't use, I don't believe we used all of that last year. It's just, you know, it's what we've got in there. And then. Okay, just the Coolidge Lane Reduction Project. So we were going to bring this to council for a resolution of support next Monday, but I talked with Dan Turrock yesterday and a couple other council members, and I think we're gonna push that until October so that the city has a chance to push more information out beyond what the DDA has been able to reach, just to make sure that all the citizens are aware of what's coming. Then once again, that's where we're talking to Beaumont about possibly stepping up to help with the cost of the bike lanes, or a portion of the bike lanes. If we can get them to do that, the estimate on the project's about $117,000. That does include about a 20% contingency, so, which is pretty generous. We have, like Mitchell was saying earlier, we have about 100,000, maybe 98,000 or something in the budget that we can put towards that. So obviously we need to come up with another 15 or so, 15 or 20 to make that project work. Or we can always, you know, pull from that fund balance, depending. But that's where we kind of are right now. I'll know more about Beaumont at the end of next week after I meet with the team from their community kind of investment department. So things are, I mean, overall, we've just had positive, for the most part, feedback, very little negative. You know, we continue to put stuff out on the website, an article in the city newsletter again this month. So I think with the city helping to start to push this out via their social media sites, then, you know, in a month, we can feel comfortable that we've educated and informed the public as much as possible. So that's where we are on that process. So Tootie and Tallulah's,
Question.
yeah.
You know, what's the parking space gain?
38,
We pick up 38
yeah, on-street parking.
from 11 out to 12.
Mhm. That's what they're estimating. They haven't done the final, but yeah, they're estimating there's probably a minimum of 38 that we pick up, which is substantial. And a 30% on the conservative side, the traffic study said a 28% decrease in traffic accidents, but they believe it'll probably be closer to 35 to 40% decrease in traffic accidents, which is substantial. So,
What do they project the reduction in traffic seeing?
but very little. They, in
Will
fact,
traffic count stay the same?
yeah, they went, if you look at the traffic analysis, Pat Cawley, I mean, they believe that the traffic will be able to move through, and they took very little, just didn't see that there was gonna be a significant, diversion at either 11 Mile or anywhere else, so they're pretty confident that those traffic numbers are gonna hold up.
You go first.
No, I was inside, I didn't have anything.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was not.
No.
If I could just offer, just this morning, I was on Coolidge going southbound, and the backup at Sunny Knoll was tremendous. And I saw 2 near-miss accidents just in the last whatever hour or so of people that are all corked up because somebody's gonna make a left. And so they cut out and try to zip around, and meanwhile, there's somebody else that's making a right or something like that. And having clear, consistent pathways so folks understand what to do, I think the flow will actually increase.
It will. These things do facilitate traffic movement, which is why they've become popular. I will say that Beaumont is pretty excited about the project. They think it's a pretty cool project. It facilitates emergency vehicle movement because now they have a dedicated center turn lane. And like Steve and I have frequently discussed, I mean, the road acts as a 3-lane road now, because to your point, when somebody's trying to turn left, it backs all up, and then all it does is create congestion, versus if you have the dedicated turn lane, now they move into there, traffic keeps moving, and you don't have this swerving and stuff like that. So, I mean, they work for a reason, and they've been used a lot for a reason. So, and they've been around for 20+ years, so there's a lot of data out here about, why they work. And so it will enhance the district. We just need to continue to inform and educate the residents so there's no surprises when, we start to restripe, which wouldn't even be probably until first quarter of next year, so.
In Detroit, the bike lanes are to the inside, it's the curb, the bike
Right,
lane.
that's not our model. Our model.
Do you know why they used a different model?
Because it's a option for, we looked at it and it didn't really make sense for us. It's protected bike lanes because it puts the cars between the bikes and the traffic.
Which is why I bring it up.
So, but the majority of them are built the way that we're doing it. When you do it that way, you have to line everything with bollards to keep the cars from driving into the bike lane and parking in the bike lane. So there's a visual and a monetary impact from that, so.
Is it snow removal?
Well, and that's the other issue.
They have
is
special equipment that goes in
You
there.
have to have, you have to have special equipment to go down there, so we discussed all that when we were looking at, what was the best way to do it.
It's just gotten brought up a couple times as I've gone.
Yeah, but our bike lanes, I think, will be a good 5.5 feet wide, and that's a really wide bike lane. Bike lanes, a lot of the bike lanes that you see now are, 4 feet. So, I mean, we're giving a nice, comfortable, wide bike lane, and then you're down to, a 10-foot traffic lane. Traffic will move slowly. The bicyclists will have a very comfortable space. The depth of the parking space will be greater. It'll probably be 8 to 9 feet, so 8 to 8.5 feet. So now we have a nice roomy parking space. We have a nice roomy bike lane. We have a 10-foot, traffic lane, 10 feet. I wouldn't mind even seeing it at 9 feet, but I'll settle for 10, because, you know, right now they're wider, and that's one of the reasons people feel so comfortable going so fast, because of the wide lanes. So we've put a lot of thought, you know, between the time, you know, I've spent with Cheryl from Spalding, DeDecker, and with Colleen and Roland from Hubble-Roth and Clark, into being very thoughtful about how this layout will work best. So, and everybody's very confident that this is good, so, and it's gonna work.
So, is Huntington Woods and Oak Park gonna be the same thing?
Well, so that's part of, we're in a multi-community planning process with them right now that's looking at bike lanes on 11 Mile, as well as mid-block crosswalks south of 11 Mile on Coolidge and along 11 Mile, and then also sustainable infrastructure to address stormwater runoff. And then once that RFP just went out, Oak Park is the lead on that, so proposals need to be back at the end of September. We'll hire a consultant to do that, and then we'll start that planning process with the hopes of finishing that up, you know, sometime probably March of next year. And then once we have all that, then we can go and look for major TAP grant funds for streetscape improvements and foundation money for the green infrastructure. And then we can look at, you know, major streetscape project along Coolidge.
So that was all pretty much for a long time, correct?
No, that's 9 mile, that's Coolidge from 9 Mile to north and 11 Mile from Woodward to Greenfield.
My concern is that they don't slow the traffic down from the downtown, people running very fast across the road.
Well, no, they can't.
Their cops
They-
is Forest Coolidge.
Yeah, I was gonna
I mean,
say.
I hear what you're saying.
And the other thing is they can't come fast because of the way the lanes come down. I mean, they're not, they have to, I mean, they're not gonna be able to come tearing across Coolidge.
I just had a hard time visualizing coming north on Coolidge into Berkeley.
So those, I can get you what the designs will look like. Yeah, that's all
How that
figured out.
funnels in.
I'll send you, yep. Yeah, and all that was taken into account when they did the traffic study. So there's no surprises along, you know, how it's gonna work or, you know, any of that. That's all been covered with the traffic analysis. And I can send you the diagram of what,
Okay.
you know, how that traffic flow works. We have the Tootie and Tallulah's Façade grant application. Mateo couldn't make it, but we did approve, the design committee did approve the project for the $2,000 based on, and this you can kind of see, it's, well, you guys have seen the project. I mean, it's almost done. The new Tootie and Tallulah's building. She's done an incredible job of enhancing that building and really, I think, bringing out the historic aspects and preserving them. And in fact, I think her whole process has been slowed down because as she's uncovered historic elements, she's taken the care to actually preserve them. Whether it was the glass block or finding the original baker sign, or when you look at the front door, there's granite, it's like a granite stone around that door that had been painted orange, and I don't think anybody realized it was granite. And when her painters got there, she took care to make sure that, you know, they took the paint off and preserved the granite. So where she was originally intending to be in July, I think, as she's taken such care on this building and uncovered more and more, you know, now she's looking, I think, to open in October. So it's a great project. It's a huge investment on their behalf, and I think the recommendation from the design committee to approve that grant for the $2,000 is well worth the investment on our part. So you guys need to vote on that.
Can I get a motion to approve Tootie and Tallulah's grant fund?
Did we get a copy of that?
copy of what?
The actual thing you're showing there?
No, I didn't, because I didn't scan it yet, but you can have it, you can take a look at it. I figured I'd just pass it around, because, yeah, it's a beautiful, she's done a beautiful job.
I look at sort of review, they're exceptional.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Well, she's like you know, I mean, she got in there and it was just like every little detail had to be perfect.
Yeah,
And that's the kind of property owner you want, you know?
It looks so much better.
You and Jerry.
Any discussion further? Can I get a motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Against? Awesome. And by the way, I had an opportunity to see Andrew's upstairs on his building. Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Don't you want to move there?
Yeah. But not for what he's asking for rent.
Oh, I'm sure he'd give you the family discount. Trade out some eyewear for rent.
Every month.
A new pair of glasses.
Where my wife buys them, yeah.
Okay, committee updates. DDA committee chairs?
I would send them to the list.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I can speak to that. They reviewed that. They're actually updating the facade plan. I sent Mateo kind of the draft of some of the ideas that they came up with. We're still planning to try and get together in September to pull the business development committee and design committee together to kind of assign tasks for this first impressions. And they're going to do a fall walkabout where the committee is splitting up just parts of Coolidge and 12 Mile to look for the business owners who are doing things well, like maintenance and, you know, facades and stuff like that. So we kind of acknowledge those property and business owners who are you know, putting time and care into their buildings. So that was it. We missed you though.
Thanks. I missed you too.
Oh my God.
You put me on the spot there.
The organization committee, real quickly, we met a couple weeks back, we mentioned the video project already, but I think every committee, all 4 committees are supposed to flesh this work plan out, which is a great tool, we think. So we touched on things like reviewing the annual strategic plan, integrating that with downtown plan, annual budget, and board appointments are always going to be there, but to corral and attract some talented folks as our terms expire. Volunteer appreciation annual meeting, we thought we would get together and acknowledge all the hours that are put in and maybe even identify a volunteer of the year. So that's some of our work that we've got going. 501c3 application, the soft date was December 31st, and that'll come back to the organization committee to kind of move that forward as well. Main Street application is completed, but keep that moving. The DDA green policy, that too is completed as well, but how do we make that more vibrant and roll it out a bit further? Complete streets and multi-community grants, then touching on how we take advantage of that and move bike lanes and crosswalks and all that way we work forward. So really a nice tool that will keep the organization committee busy throughout the year, so updates to come.
From a business development perspective, we met 2 weeks back and spent most of our time going through and reviewing a retail recruitment brochure that Vivian and Mike are working to create. And so this brochure will be used to attract potential new business and developers to the Berkeley DDA area. So I think it's in a pretty good spot now. I'm very anxious to see the graphics and like the final product that you guys
I'll
come
send
up
it
with.
out to you guys. We're just getting the final draft back. So I've been working with Sherry Lawton, who's Jameson. So she's Robert's wife from Peninsula. She's the one who helps us, you know, with the map and things like that. So she's just, in fact, I saw an email just came this morning that she's kind of got it pretty much put together. So we'll send it out to you guys for a review. I think you'll like it.
Great. And then the other thing with Vivian kind of just touched on is we'll be mobilizing a team from a business development perspective to participate in the First Impressions program. So we'll be going undercover, going to the class and interviewing.
You gotta wear the fedora and the
Trench coat.
Okay, marketing and promotions, we just met on Monday, and we mostly talked about the events. We have our last art about this Friday, and then the last ladies' night out of the year is October 4th. So we were just working on fine-tuning some of those details, and then for Mayor Month, that's ramping up. Our first event is Small Business Saturday in November, so we were talking about different things we can do for that, and then also how to leverage Santa the Library and how we can get people to come back to Berkeley for that.
Yeah, and do take one of these, because this was in the Special Metro Times edition, we did a center spread. Actually, we're able to kind of work out a deal with Petro for a trade on some of the co-op advertising for this center spread. So it's a nice replication of kind of our map, carries through that branded look, lists, you know, a lot of our businesses, so.
Read the paragraph that's in there. It's actually written quite well.
Well, thank you. That's on our map.
In a cute way. It touches on everybody a little bit, or at least tries to.
I
Yes.
tried.
And it's apparent.
Yeah, so that's, okay. So, I'll just move into the executive director stuff. Just to update you on the guidelines and design review board, we'll do a presentation to council Monday night to just talk about how the design review board will work. And then we have 2 ordinances that move forward. I kind of touched briefly on this last month, but the design review board review ordinance will go to planning commission at planning's meeting in September this month. And then depending on how quickly that moves through, the council will get that design review board review ordinance, and then the design review board ordinance in October or November, with the goal of the design review board being in place by December. So that will be a PowerPoint presentation that I'll have at council. So you guys can either watch on TV if you want to find out more, or you can come to the council meeting and keep me company. The downtown strategic plan and parking study, we met with the team last Friday, and we're getting together the dates to start with the public input sessions. We spent a lot of time talking about how we're going to gather public input for these. So look for more information on that. We're really excited about these consultants and their sub-consultants. I think it's going to be a great fit for our downtown. DDA Public Art Project, I sent you guys oh good.
Well, I cut it off.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, but you can see the top.
Okay, but the top doesn't show anything. So
No, the
that's-
top of the bottom.
So did you guys all see that in your email that I sent out today? So that just gives you an idea. So this whole idea got started when I was walking the district earlier this year. And I noticed that, you know, these right on our prime corner, there's 4 empty tree wells, 2 on the north side of 12 Mile, 2 on the south. And I said to Derek from DPW, I said, hey, you know, how about if we plant some trees here? And he said, well, the trees don't live. And I said, well, that's kind of sad. And I said, so how about if we do some sort of public art project there? And he says, I think that'd be great. So we started pursuing that through the Public Art Committee, and reached out to a sculptor who, and asked him to kind of concept what might be able to go there that has tree-like essence. So you can see from that image that, you know, it has a canopy, just like there is a tree canopy. There's branches, there's trunks, it incorporates some seating elements. And then the cool thing is that, and this is where Matt Trotto, and by the way, did you guys all meet Matt Trotto? Matt's he's our new planning commissioner, and he's our planning commissioner liaison. So we're excited because he's an electrical contractor. So we're going to talk to him about helping us figure out how to light this at a nice low cost. Because we can take out that colonial light fixtures that you see here, which is really not very attractive. And take that electricity and incorporate that into this sculpture. So I think when you sit there and you look at that corner, it's just so bleak. I think this is gonna be so much fun, and anyway, that project we're gonna kick off some fundraising for it through Patronicity, so it'll be our first attempt at Patronicity, which is crowdsource funding, but the nice thing about it is that MEDC does a 50-50 match, so if we decide we need 20,000, we raise 10, then MEDC matches that other 10, so it's pretty cool. When I talked to the Patronicity people, she was excited because she said, we don't see anything cool like this. She goes, we get playground equipment and stuff like that. So she was pretty excited to see the project come through. So we're hoping to kick that campaign off early in October. So that's that. Just those updates. Just wanted to give you kind of an idea on our vacant properties. The Toy Soldier shop actually has sold one of their buildings to gatekeepers, and they're going to expand down there. That deal was done last week, I think. I wouldn't go publicizing it until maybe they start to publicize it. So
What's
gatekeepers is
Oh,
games. They're the ones who are just to the west of Peninsulas.
Next to the Thrift Council.
Yeah, so they'll be great down there. I think it'll be a cool way to start to activate that end of 12 Mile. We have a jeweler coming in there too. We're also working a lot with Oakland County on doing some targeted business recruitment for our vacancies. They've hired a consultant named Cindy Chiuri, I think, is her last name, Ciuri. And I've met with her several times, and she has detailed information on most of our, all of our vacant properties. And we're also working with, the One Stop Shop, who does a kind of a one-day trade show to market some of our properties. So we have, like Brian mentioned, the new retail recruitment brochure. So I think we're getting a really strong strategy in place to start to target those kinds of businesses that we want to bring in. They're well aware that we're not looking for national chains, that we're looking for chainlets. We want to support what we have and not change that dynamic. Airmaster, those guys will be out. So DHM and Airmaster are owned by the same guy, Noah Dorfman, good guy. So I've been talking to him a lot about different things that we might be able to do with those. I believe Airmaster is out at the end of September. So as you guys are out and around and you're talking to peers or friends, and you perhaps run into somebody who's looking to open a cool business, remember to bring them our way, because these properties and our property values are so reasonable right now compared to the surrounding communities that it's crazy not to invest here right now. But that being said, I think we're already seeing those property values start to increase pretty substantially, as you probably know from your neighbor, which is good. It's all good. Anyway, I would encourage everybody to just kind of keep, everybody I see whenever I'm out who says, oh yeah, we've got a restaurant, I'll say, hey, don't you guys want to open a second one? So, just do some recruiting on our behalf, but just make sure you get the good guys and don't sell for somebody who don't want it. And that's, and then the City Hall project. I need to call, I have to call Sam. We've been having discussions with Sam Luley, Mr. Kebab about visioning something that could happen on that corner, and Sam's been pretty on board. His dad's been a little reluctant, so he was supposed to talk to his dad last week, and I need to follow up, and we'll see what happens with whether or not we get to kind of vision for the whole corner, or whether it's just the city hall site, so. That's everything I have. No, so obviously, you know, did Tim from Oakland County respond to get in there for pictures?
Not yet.
Yeah, I sent that out. Yeah, he'll get in touch with you. He's the guy. So the Oakland County's putting together a recruitment packet on Berkeley also. So these properties are all in our Greentopia. Cindy's been working with the owner of that property. She's gotten in there, she's talked to her, and so, I mean, we really are trying to be pretty active and strategic.
I just wanted to add something. I actually reached out to Detroit Pop-Up Alliance. This is a group that goes around to pop-up restaurants downtown, who works with Revolver, if you've heard of Revolver, I can train them. So we had a good discussion of, he said there isn't any pop-up places in Ferndale, Birmingham.
That's
That
perfect.
might be a great location to pop up. There's so many other layers to go through, special use permit and the other license and all. So, the interim, I may be working with this guy for a couple of pop-ups, we'll see.
I love it. I think
Yeah,
it's a
let's
great
know.
idea. Great idea, Lester.
Excuse me.
Did Steve leave?
Like-
Step out.
Yeah, he said I could, he said I would do the council update, so. On behalf of Steve, we've got a couple, our next meeting is Monday, as Vivian mentioned. We've got a couple of things on the agenda coming up. We're excited to hear Vivian's presentation. We have we've been working with EcoWorks, if anybody's familiar with that organization out of Detroit. They do energy planning for municipalities. So we have the opportunity to have them come in, look at their various buildings, and suggest ways that we could save operational costs by becoming more cost efficient through energy efficiency upgrades. As you know, many of our buildings are pretty old. Some of them are slated to be redone in the next couple of years. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, throw salt over your shoulder, whatever it may be. But we do have some that are on a little bit longer timeline that we know are costly to operate because of just the age in which they were built. And so we look forward to working with them. That'll be a memo of understanding. We'll appear before council for their consideration on Monday. We also have our annual SMART contract. We have a great relationship with SMART. We receive both community and municipal credits that we use for transportation services for our seniors and a couple other great programs that are administered through the recreation department. So that annual contract is coming back before council for their consideration as well. A couple of board appointments. We continue to receive great applications from residents who want to contribute and volunteer, and just like you guys. Those are the ones that are really popping off the top of my head. Steve also wanted me to mention that our technology advisory committee is now in place, up to speed. They've had their first meeting. Both Steve Baker and Stan from our office have been working with that group, and great group, excited to really lend a hand to whatever organization, board, commission they can around the community. So they fully offer their services to this body if there's anything they can do to help leverage technology to make some part of what the DDA does a little bit easier. They're excited to get to work on things like that. Likewise with our community engagement committee, we have a big committee they're about 3 or 4 months into their work, doing a great job, passionate individuals who really want to, just as much as possible, find a way to find whatever the formula is that makes municipal communication work. And they've been diligently working on different and creative ways to get the word out. So some fun stuff going on there.
Planning Commission, Matt?
I'm only doing them for 2 months, I'm still getting a feel for it. But, recently we approved Folio, the Façade has been approved, everything's all set to go there. Other than that, we discussed generators and things like that, but we have no bearing on the DDA and exterior appliances. That's about it from the planning commission meeting.
Chamber?
Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, Patrick Calhoun, the current and outgoing president.
Oh, no.
I've lived out my term at the end of this year.
Oh, no.
And that's not me saying I'm interested in, no. Speaking of which, yeah, we are currently in the process of, our nominating committee is looking for new members. We've kind of hit a weird confluence of multiple layers all kind of landing on one time. So Chamber next year is going to be an interesting mix of some new folks.
Cool.
So for any of you who are also Chamber members, if you're looking at expanding your committee participation, or have anybody you know who might be interested, we would be thrilled if you wanted to step forward and meet both Wednesday morning and Wednesday nights. We are also looking at nominations for the Best of Berkeley Awards right now, our annual Business Person of the Year and Business of the Year, and focusing on honoring those who give back to help the community. The only caveat is they must be a Chamber member to win, and if they want to be entered and then join, we're okay with that as well. From an operational perspective, we have been connecting more closely. There was a Chamber event, and that's been a couple months back. We're waiting for the second one. Multiple chambers of commerce from this kind of the Woodward 5 region, just trying to work more closely together rather than competing against each other. So we should be coming up on another meeting for that soon. And the last item, and this is open to anyone, we'd be excited to have you join. The next Chamber Chat is Friday the 21st at 8 a.m. This is a really neat one. We've done it here before. It's at Distinctive Framing in Huntington Woods. Information's on our website. This is actually a home-based business. The owner is an engineer and an amazing framer of art and everything else. And if you want to see the coolest wood shop you have ever seen in your life, please come and join. We'd be thrilled to have you there. And that is all I have.
Board of Director comments. Anybody have something? Okay. Any public comments? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Second? All in favor? Aye. All against?